Hey, what's up, my friends? How's everybody doing out there in the YouTube world? This is Bobby with New Soil Castings, back here to have a little chit chat with you and talk to you a bit. I've got several people asking me what's the best bedding to use for their worms, and I know there's a million and one videos out there that'll tell you what's the best bedding to use for your worms, and they're not 100% wrong and they're not 100% right. The best thing I can tell you, the best bedding for your worms is what you can get, what is easily accessible for you, not compost or horse manure or llama manure or rabbit manure or any kind of manure, except for dogs, cats and stuff. But you know, it's what's easily accessible for you, what you can get. That's the best bedding for you. If you use peat moss or if you use pit moss or you use reed sled moss, you know, it's whatever you can get is the best bedding for you and your situation. Here at New Soil Castings, we make our own bedding. You know, I get horse manure, I get wood chips, I get leaves off all these white oak trees. I use them. I get a rabbit manure, and then, but out of them, I compost them before I use the bedding, and that's what I want to talk to y'all about for a little bit. Uh, is bedding, since I get so many questions, and give me 1 second. Let me check this right here, and I'll be right back, guys. Oh well, my goodness. That's what I thought. I thought I heard a crash over there. I didn't know what the crash was, but I heard a crash for sure. Looked like one of my dogs knocked something over in there, and it finally decided to fall. So we'll just go from there. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I it's all what you want to use. Like I said, here at New Soil, we use two kinds of compost. I make my bedding. You know, this right here is hot compost. Every bit of this has been composted down. This is wood chips, manure, horse manure, with some coffee grounds, with some leaf mold, and we break it down. It's a great bedding. I love it. It has a lot of benefits. It has some pros, and it has some cons as well. This right here, since I don't have my gloves on, I'm gonna put my hand in it. This is our cold compost we use. This is rabbit manure. I get this from a guy who raises rabbits. This is great bedding as well, but that's cold compost. And we'll do another video later about just cold compost. I'll talk to you about hot compost today because I don't want to make a long video trying to get both of them squeezed in here. So we'll go ahead and just set this over here to the side because we're not going to talk about it. And we'll talk about the hot compost. Now, hot compost is great for worm bedding. It's simple to make. It's, for some of us anyway. I use an ASP system. And what that is, that's an aerated static pile system that I built out of a 4x4 box with a blower motor, a jumping box blower motor, which pushes air through it on a timer that I got, which I put my timer set up. I let it run for about 5 minutes on and 20 minutes off. Now during the summer when it's real hot, the bin gets hot and it burns up a lot of oxygen. So I'll drop that down. I'll run it less but more. And I know that may not make a lot of sense, but if you read up on the hot compost, it makes perfect sense. I run it less time, but in more different intervals. But hot compost is great. Hot compost here to kill all your weed seeds, all your pathogens, and a lot of the pesticides. It'll kill a lot of that out of it for you. Where you ain't got to worry about it when you put it in after the worms break down. My goodness, everything's falling. When you put it in your garden, you ain't got to worry about hey, is there going to be this random pumpkin grow in my garden? Am I going to get rogue tomato plants or some pepper plants? Not when you hot compost, because you're going to get this up to about 135 to 160, and anything out of that, you're going to be producing gases that it's going to just catch on fire back there. It's going to implode on you. But we use this 90% of the time. And yes, you can mix the cold compost with it if you want to. You know, I've had that question, can you mix both of them? But you can, you know. So I myself like hot compost for the simple reason, like I said, kills weeds. It kills off the pesticides, the pathogens. You know, I that to me works better for me. But you also in hot compost, it kills off a lot of good bacteria as well. That's the main difference between cold compost and hot compost. And I keep dripping over here, so you know I'm trying not to make a video on the cold compost today, but I keep drifting that way. But that's one of the differences between cold compost and hot compost is the hot the cold compost will not kill the pathogens and weed seeds and all that. And golly, Bobby, I drifted. Anyway, we we choose to use a hot compost here. I'm trying to ruin this video right off the bat. We choose to use a hot compost right here because you know it to me you have less odors. The heat that it produces detours a lot of the varmints like rats and moles and all because it gets so hot. You know, you don't have to worry about different worms in your hot compost because it gets so hot it kills the worm seeds. I mean the worm cocoons and the worms itself and all. So until you put it down in its cooling down stage, you really don't have to worry about worms in your hot compost. But it makes an excellent bedding, you know, and that's why we choose to use it. Also because I have control over this. I control it. I control the moisture. I control the heat. I control the airflow. So I can make it what I want it to be when I use it. You know, if I want it to be more fungal active, then after I get it on its cool down stage, I can mix in some mushroom compost with it, you know, and the fungal activity would just go sky high on it, you know. But for me, that I don't make a high fungal active castings because most of mine goes to gardeners and hoop houses. You know, if you're selling to people who are growing plants, they're the ones who like the high fungal um, castings. But here in Alabama, I guess I'll never see that. So I know how to make mine super high fungal, but right now I don't have a reason to do it. You know, but that's another pro to it that you control everything. You know, another thing, like I just said, it reduces odor. You know, it don't smell as bad. Cold compost can smell a little more because it doesn't have that heat where the bacteria is being broken down. You know, it's just sitting there stagnant. It's breaking down on its own pace, on its own sweet time. And man, I really wish I could get off that because I'm really going to ruin my second video. But anyway, another benefit of this, you know, it creates a more uniform compost, a hot compost does, where you can use it and break it down. You can say once all this rust up, these sticks and stuff that's left in there. Once I harvest this and I run it through the trommel, all the big stuff will go right back into the pile because it's loaded. It's loaded with bacteria and fungal activity already. So it goes right back into the pile to get broke down again. So I'm not adding new wood chips to it. I'm adding the old wood chips that are just consumed and infested with the bio that I want in my um, compost. That's another reason we choose to use it. But on the other side, it has cons to it as well. You know, hot compost. Here I go again. Hot compost is more. Well, how do I want to put this? It, you have to put in more effort with hot compost than you do with the cold compost. You know, if if you don't have an ASP like me, where I'm introducing the air, I'm injecting air into it. That way, I don't have to turn the pile. Say you don't have the ASP set up. If you're making hot compost, you have to turn your pile so many times to keep it the airflow in the heat in the center. You're gonna break all that down, and the outsides is going to eventually become the inside. So you got to keep flipping all that, and that is a lot of work. You have to keep the water. So, but water is more. You gotta stay on top of that more than I do with my ASP system. You know, and I can control my temp a little bit better with my ASP system. If it starts getting if it starts dropping, I can either give it a little bit more air, so it has more air to produce heat with in there, and I can get it back up hot again, or I can just simply add more nitrogen to it, which you can do that in your bins, your pile that you're flipping as well. You know, the other con about about doing hot compost is you have to have a large area to do a compost. You want to have a 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot pile to do a hot compost. A lot of people don't have that luxury of that room. That's one of the difference. The main con between hot compost and cold composting is the area that you need to do it. You know, so that's why we choose to go with the hot compost. But once again, this is what I use. This is what works for me on my farm. I do all this. I go get all the ingredients. You may not have the luxury to do all that. So just don't don't think that what you want to use for your I mean, I know people who use just shred cardboard and paper and that's all they use. That's all that's in their worms eat all the time is cardboard and paper. That's what they can get for them, then that's the best bedding for them. That's what I'm trying to stress to you. There really is no best bedding. It only is what you can get for you. That is the best bedding that you need to use for yourself. Sure, you can buy it, but a lot of us people who are raising worms and composting or try to do it without spending as less money as we have to, you know. But that's all I really want to talk about. And I'm going to quit looking over here because every time I do, I have thoughts pop in my head, the benefits and the cons of the cold compost. I'm trying not to look over at it because it's just drawing me there. But that's another video. We talked about the hot compost in this video. And on the next video, we'll talk about the cold compost so I can get that out of my head because it's killing me right now, y'all. This is Bobby with New Soil Casting saying, the bedding that is best for you is what you can get. Don't worry about what all of us use. You know, every one of us use something different, but it's what we can get. So what you can get for your worms is the best bedding for you. You see me doing it, don't you? This is Bobby with New Soil Casting saying we're gonna keep saving the soil one worm at a time, y'all. Y'all wait for the next video so I can get this cold compost out of my head. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye. I'm gonna drive myself nuts, guys.